as I said, the worst trolls now, the ones that are most psychopathic, the ones that seemingly don't have a glimpse of healthiness. Does that make sense? Even a shred of light, that is there in the form of health. Does that make sense? Are searching always to find a new angle, a new lie, to damage us, to kill us off, to cause us problems, to destroy our lives, to destroy our businesses, to destroy our families. It's who these people are. Does that make sense? And one of the things that came out, and you could share some of these things with us, Chris, because you'll remember them probably better than I will. But mention things in relation to things we've spoken to in relation to women, and in relation to people that we've literally have come here from families where they've had so little upbringing that they haven't even been properly toilet trained. And so there were comments about that, and there were comments about us being, I don't know if the word misogyny was used, but they were alluding to misogyny, which is a hatred of women, for those who don't know. And, when you read the comments, and I don't know if we're going to read them now, but they were basically the level of thinking. You need to understand what we're talking about. The sort of person, so people are going to be, what sort of person would do this sort of thing, Paul? Go online and write this nonsense. Just knee-jerk reaction over a glass of wine, maybe one too many. Is that who they are? These are people that cannot see the parallels between everyday life and what they do online. Like it's two different worlds. It's like they live in two different worlds. They live in this cyber world where they do all these things and they think they can get away with it. But they're not sure whether they will, so they hide behind pseudonyms. Also, they don't want their bosses to know. Right? But the level of thinking, the level of intellect, the level of reason is so low that it's extremely hard for me to come out and give them any credence to say, actually, that's a point. Well done. That's something we can work with. That's something we can change. Sorry about that. We will improve on it. We take that back. Or you're quite right. Thanks for holding us accountable. Or well done. Good point. I mean, I appreciate that. Something nice, something back. Like, even to our enemies. It's hard to give you anything back except to say, please change if you can. You don't live your life like this. Science now tells people. So it's out there in the data. Scientific data now says that the more hatred that you live with and you try and perpetrate as a person, the more sick you get, the more toxic you become, and the more people are dying from hatred than any smoking or fat or bad diet. People are dying from hatred. They're literally dying from being so mentally, emotionally, and spiritually toxic that they literally kill the body that they're in. They literally kill their minds and their bodies because of the toxicity that exists in these people. But they come out with these opinionated statements, almost like they're drunk. But they wouldn't do it in the clear light of day. Let me give you an example. It's like walking around the office. Just think about this. And you ride around, you walk around putting toxic, nasty messages designed to upset and break people down on their desks anonymously. And it goes back to the hierarchy. It goes back to the bosses. It goes back again. Someone's walking around in our offices, one of us or someone creeping into the building or whatever it may be, but walking in and leaving toxic messages. And now more people are jumping on this poor person and putting more toxic messages on this desk. This person is in tears every day. This person comes to work and has a pile of toxic messages on the desk, and other people are not getting them in the office, bosses or whatever, they're getting it. These toxic messages that are literally written toxically and anonymously and just put on the desk. How is it different? What is going online, writing messages to people or writing about people, or writing about someone and their life, making up a story or telling, even if it's true, and walking around the office, putting those messages anonymously on everyone else's desk, except that person. Does that make sense? Yeah. And excluding that person from these messages, telling people, keep it to ourselves. Let's keep it to ourselves. Take this message, put it in your pocket. And now other people are starting to get on the bandwagon, and they're writing notes and putting it on each other's desk. Guys, can you see how this wouldn't be tenable in an office? Can you see that the bosses would be looking at that and going, we've got to find who this person is. Let's put some cameras up. We've got to get rid of this person. It just wouldn't be tenable. You couldn't write that on your CV. That's how you handle your problems. You do it anonymously for a reason. You're preserving yourself, because the last person you would want that to get out to would be this toxic situation. Does that make sense? So, and your character within it. And so, let me just try and bring some of the foolishness that has come out. And you can see by the way that has been written and the angle they come from and how they interact, the low level of maturity. And one of them was that sort of alluding to the fact that we are misogynistic. And that that there is, that we as people, we as men, hate women, and that we're making comments against women. I just want to make it very, very clear without having to go through every one of these, because seriously, the comments are so bad, and they lack so much reason and intelligence and substance, and even worse, so little context, that it's extremely hard for me to go actually to them and actually respond to them individually. Some of them you can do that, we can read them out. There's some intelligence there. But here it's so bad, it's so ridiculous. But nevertheless, the accusation there is that we have an issue with women. So I'm going to help you. Okay? I want you people, this is not for the trolls, it's for everyone else, but for the trolls that are listening, and I hope you can change, and I hope you can understand this. Okay? That I hope that you were drunk, and that you are actually intelligent, and you are actually reasonable, and that you have a modicum of health there. A slither. That you can actually look at yourself and make a difference in your own life, and not live your life this way, and not try and build relationships by fighting wars that shouldn't exist, because that's crazy. To give yourself some meaning and purpose. There's so much you can do. There's 800 million children out there. Why don't you get involved in joining us, or join directly or indirectly, or on the side or on your own mission to help those 800 million children? We could do with that help, and so could everyone else in this world who cares about these children. But here it is, as far as the misogyny goes, and the issue with us, as where I brought up, maybe this troll is a woman, and it's this type of pathology, and bitter and twisted and angry, and it's that type of bunny boiler. It sounds like if it is a man, then it's this sort of man that is sort of passive aggressive, nasty, female type ego, where a man has been, pretty much sort of emotionally or mentally or spiritually castrated. And so dominated by a woman or a mother that they have become incredibly feminized and bitter and twisted with it. Does that make sense? Let me be very clear here, what I feel about women, what I think about women. Women are not only sacred, whether I think so or not. They are sacred, and they are absolutely deserving of all respect. Notice, women. There's a difference here. They're all females. Am I including in this category? I'm going to make a big difference. I'm talking about mature, healthy grown, responsible human beings that are female, known as women. Does that make sense? There's not crossover into anything else, like transgenderism or anything like that. Just women born as females, or girls born as females born as females, who then grow into healthy grown adulthood. They've got a healthy, or they've got a female body, and they've developed, with that body, they've developed a healthy emotional intelligence, mental, or IQ, and SQ, spiritual intelligence. They've grown where they are a whole person. These are people that are responsible children, responsible with with facts, with truth, with reality. They've been brought up, or they have brought themselves up, they're self-parented or got the parenting to become wise people, principle-centered people, people who are loving, people who are committed to reality and truth. People who are committed to reality and truth, and people who want to be less of a wrong'un through taking responsibility, through being accountable, through self-awareness, looking at themselves and being repentant and contrite. Looking at it, contrition meaning I feel bad, I have been bad, and I feel bad. I'm not just making a story. So that's what I mean by a woman. And any child that grows up to a woman like that, and parents that are like that, I mean, it's rare. And please believe me when I say I envy them. Part of me envies that because I never got that. But I don't envy in a way that I wish they didn't get it. I'm glad, I'm so pleased that those children have got parents that are regenerate parents. They're not degenerate parents. Now, what do I mean by degenerate? I'm talking about people who parade as women on here. Or men that come across with a very femme aggression. Typically femme aggressive ego. Passive aggressive femme ego. It's definitely there, and it's powerful, and it's vicious, and it's dangerous, and men have got no chance, man. They get their legs cut off if they don't know how to deal with it, right? Get out of the way in time, for example, right? Know how to handle it, right? But at the end of the day, and people are scared of it. This femme aggression, what we're talking about here, it's vicious. If you don't know how to handle it, you're taken out. But I'm not talking about women that are healthy. I'm talking about females here who haven't had that upbringing. And this is tragic, guys. This is not something I'm going, oh, that's who you are and you're awful and I'm running you down. I'm not running you down. I'm saying it's absolutely awful if that's where you are. And that's who you are. And that's where you are as a person. I feel very, very sad. Listen, man, it's overwhelmingly inconvenient for me to have to say this and overwhelmingly sad that I have to say this sort of thing. Does that make sense? But we're talking about people here that emotionally aren't developed, mentally, not really developed. They're not developed as a whole person, body, heart, mind, spirit. They're developed maybe physically and somewhat mentally, but not very high. Because people with a high intelligence, unless they're totally barking and lost it, don't come online and write such bad stuff in such a bad way, from such a bad place, with such bad context, with such unreasonableness and lack of reason. Does that make sense? So you come on and you write this stuff and you all think you're great amongst each other like kids in a playground. But what you don't realize is that you're looking at a 9, 10-year-old intelligence here coming through with these things. You embarrass yourself and then you think, well, I'm behind a pseudonym. It doesn't matter what they say. But you're sitting here listening to this now, guys. And you feel small inside because this is small. And you feel angry and that I'm picking on you somehow, or that there's some sort of injustice or whatever. The bottom line is you wrote it. No one invited you in to write this. You came in and wrote it. Now, not only are you looking stupid and foolish and uneducated and unsophisticated and lacking an intellectual flair, intellectual quality and substance, but to everyone else in the world that does, including potentially people who own the business you work at and the bosses that you're with, or the shareholders that invest in your company. The last thing you'd want is to show them that this is how you use the intelligence that you do have. And that's why I say I hope that you were just drunk. Seriously, I hope that when you've written it, you were drunk, and now you'll look at it again and go, hold on, next time I'm drunk or next time I have a drink, let me stay away from my phone and let me stay away from Reddit and let me stay away from all these things. I stay off Reddit because I get it. And so the bottom line is there is a vast array of extremely intelligent, intellectual people that have an intellectuality, body, heart, mind, spirit. They have human endowments which are self-aware through their consciousness. There's a love there for what is right and for what is righteous. There's a conscience there. They have an intelligent conscience. They have an intellectual conscience. And they have an intellectual self-awareness that moves into an intellectual body, heart, mind, and spirit that is independently willing to make decisions in line with what is good, what is upbuilding, what is positive, building, progressive, meaningful, reasonable, purposeful. The type of person that comes on and does this stuff isn't just what we're seeing. Isn't just that it's unwell and it's ill-founded and ill-conceived and contrived and vicious, and the motive is wrong. It's also hugely unintelligent. It's embarrassing, guys. You're trying to get significance by doing this, but actually, whether people comment it or not, that have got their brain and their heart and their mind and their soul and their spirit and their humanness in the right place, they look at that and go, that is tragic at best. They go, I feel sorry. At worst, I just look at that and they shake their head and they go, my goodness, it's not even worth responding to. It's that bad. Except that we are responding to it because your reason for doing it is to get significance in killing and breaking us and our families and our children. That's what we're dealing with here, which is why I'm coming on. Not so much for the trolls, although I am speaking to you as well, because seriously, if it is because you're drinking or you're just having an insane episode or whatever it may be, or both, that you can look at that and get changed, get the help you need. Deal with your hate in a way that preserves you. Deal with your hate in a way that advances you as a person. Use it to grow, use it to develop, use it to heal. Don't take the hate and remove it. Go and get the help, because it'll kill you. And it'll kill you way before you kill us. You're poisoning yourself. You're poisoning your own system. You're walking around toxic and bitter and twisted and full of acid in your body. And before you know it, by the time you're 50, 60, 70, you're like, you can't even move your hands. And you're like this. You've got a big hump on your back. And now you've got like repetitive stress disorder. Seriously, guys, this is what we're dealing with here, man. So every time you come on, and you are evil or unintelligent or without merit or without substance or without reason or without, all in the name of becoming powerful and becoming significant and becoming relevant, you just got to put yourself in a position to show where you are actually, because we're just going to show a big mirror back. And it's not a mirror for me, it's a mirror for the rest of the world who'll come on here through the rest of time and look at these comments, and if you don't have them, we do. And we'll have them for the rest of the time on record. And the only way we'll destroy them if you come and make it right with us. Whether the Daily Mail is full of injustices. That's why people call it the Daily Fail. You've got the few people in this world, very few. There's 8 billion people, and there's like 900 people read it, 900 million. I think, let's put it right, you'll probably find that the people who buy the Daily Mail don't really read it, because at the end of the day, they page through it. We watch them. We actually watch it. People read it. How do they read it? They just like page through it. They hardly notice anything. They just page through it. They look at the pictures. They get through it. It's a nice big page. They go through it. You know, these people aren't readers and leaders and thought leaders and intellectuals that read this paper. The people just go through it. It's a rag. And it's treated like one. All right? But this is the same. You know, and believe me, you're all pretty much within a few degrees on the same level. The type of people at the Daily Mail, the type of people like you, who will go online and they do this stuff. I wouldn't be surprised people in the Daily Mail are you, or that you actually work at the Daily Mail and troll in the evening. I don't know, or troll during the day. We find a lot of you people are actually working from home or whatever, and actually, when it all comes out, are writing all these things during office hours and getting paid for it. Be careful. Be careful. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the bottom line is, you know, there's police now rocking up on people's doorsteps and holding them accountable for stuff. It's ridiculous. This is illegal. It's not right. It's criminal. And it's not going to give you, unless you are so outside of what is real and reality, that you will look at these things and think it'll give you power and position, or feelings of power and position, and somehow significance and relevance by behaving like a 9, 10-year-old in the playground with a whole lot of other bullies. Except the children in the playground aren't hiding behind pseudonyms. They actually have the courage of their own bullying convictions to actually be there and do that in the playground while the teacher's walking around. But the level of foolishness is very, very similar. And that a pseudonym doesn't protect you. And it certainly doesn't protect you from yourself in what you're doing to yourself. Does that make sense? Right? Do you want to share on that, Chris?
Yeah, I think that, to see how trying to manipulate anything, and it's always just looking for a new agenda. And as you described it, if anyone's monitored everything, it's first of all multi-level marketing, then you're a cult, then producing something in the Daily Mail and saying, well, actually you're abusive, and then it's like, well, now you're misogynist. So it's always looking for something to try and get the next band of people to hate on. And if you create enough things to hang things on, there'll be enough people to go, I hate misogynists, so I hate, even whether they are or not. It's going, okay, well now I've got there's a whole group that we can hang on that. So there's a whole group that we can hang on that, and that's what the Daily Mail feeds off. But just seeing, I mean, you read some of these things, and I'm sure that this must happen to everyone that enters the public domain. They must be going, well, like, who are they actually talking about? And then I think a lot of people get lost in it. They start going, actually, they believe it. They're going, am I actually this person? And what has actually happened there? And it's a huge distinction. You know what? No one wants to think that they're a child when they're 40, 50. It's embarrassing for all of us.
Well, if there's some health.
Yeah.
If there's such psychopathic darkness there, such malignant darkness there, they can't get there. This is when they become very ill, and this is when they become very criminally ill even, and end up in lifetime of trouble with authorities.
Yeah, and the more malignancy that's there, the less it's, even like, I know you're saying that, the malignancy, but it's just like, there's no one who's close to that who sees it.
Yes.
And that's the difficulty of it. Someone will go, oh, he's trying to shame me, or he's trying to say all these things, but the more, and I appreciate you're talking about repentance, you're saying actually just recognizing our dysfunction, recognizing our fallibility, and actually going, I need to take responsibility for that and do something with it.
Yes.
And the irony is that everyone who's actually been here, even if only partly, and you're still working full time like these people, they know this about us. They know that.
I know they do.
They know that everything.
And they don't write it there.
Well, but it doesn't suit the.
Of course, it shows you what a smear it is.
Yeah, and
there's no balance, no reason.
And I think through this, what I'm seeing more and more is that what's fascinating. You've got different parties going, well, the truth will prevail. Everyone thinks that their perception is the truth, and instead of going, well, what are we missing? And there's a question we're asking ourselves all the time. What responsibility can we take, and how do we grow through this? What is the problem that exists in the world in relation to? What is the misperception in relation to misogyny? Yeah, that's what I really valued. You're talking to me about it, and just going, well, misogyny is this misperception of going, well, yes, it exists. I mean, there's no two ways about it. There's, as you said. You've got a woman writing about women and the problems with narcissistic, say, mothers in this example. Are they misogynists now? Because
the woman?
Yes, the woman who are writing
about the woman.
The PhDs.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean there isn't misogyny, because I'm just hoping to explain this. Because otherwise you then go.
Yes.
Oh well, now you have to justify misogyny.
There's terrible misogyny.
Yeah,
it's rampant. It's terrible. It's a curse.
And it has been for
It's a curse. It's a curse. Yeah. Misogyny is a curse.
Yeah.
It's awful. There's no way around that. I mean, please. It's like, I'm not just saying it politically. I'm disgusted by it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think of my daughter, and I think of my partner when they're treated that way by misogynists. Seriously, I really struggle with it. I fly into a rage at times, and lots of expletives against those men. And I do. And I've actually had my partner say to me before, Paul, I'm dropping the kids off, and I had this misogynist attack me. And all the women are all women dropping their kids off at school. And said, you know what, Paul? The one thing part of you that I don't like is when you get really outraged with people, and out come the expletives, and you really want to put them to rights, and you want to give them a bunch of fives. He said, I don't like that part of you, and you don't. Thank goodness it doesn't come off. It doesn't come out very often, but when it does, I don't like that part of you. He says, but you know what? The one time this happened to her right recently, and she said, I wish you were there. This guy was so misogynistic, so demeaning to the women who were dropping their children off with their children in the car, in the road. It was astonishing, the outburst and the hatred for women that was coming through this person. And I feel sorry for the person, because what did he go through? Who's he hating? Is everyone become his mother or his sister who bullied him? Yeah. Because often it's sisters or whatever that bullied the men. There's a reason for it, but it doesn't oh my goodness, it doesn't make it one bit less disgusting. Because somebody abuses a child, because they were abused as a child, my goodness, it doesn't make it any less outrageous or disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, these people are always saying, you know, the Daily Mail saying that the fact that this happened with this person and things I've said and things that have come out on tape or whatever we've had to remove or whatever because we didn't realize I was even on it to that extent, and we did that. We're grateful for it. We acted responsibly straight away. That you know, that at the end of the day, it's basically protecting the people that are behind the scenes that are criminals and have been criminal towards very small children in many different ways. I'm not just talking about this particular family. I'm talking about anybody in the world. I'm not talking about this family now. I'm talking about the whole world. Is holding me accountable, anyone accountable for holding that family accountable. And I can understand why the law would come in 92, I think it was, and say, listen, you can't name a person that's had sexual abuse because of naming them in whatever way, by way of discussion, or even to help them without their permission. Oh my goodness, it's absolutely correct. It's absolutely right. But when you're responding to a newspaper article that's attacking you, the bottom line is this. That anyway, I'll let you carry on because
yeah, sure. I think in relation to misogyny in particular, and like anything can get used as a stick, whether it's racism or anything like that, and where it exists
inappropriately and falsely.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll take this as an example. I think I don't have the exact words written here, but this is the gist of it. The attacks by Paul Waugh and Lighthouse on partners, female partners, and mothers. Now, what constitutes an attack? Is it because if someone highlights an area of inadequacy and an area where damage has been done or damage is being done, is that an attack? Well, it may be an attack on a lie. It may be an attack on someone's perception of themselves. But is that hate, because it's challenging something and it's highlighting something negative, does that mean that it is filled with hate? Because that's what misogyny is, hate. It means, but you could go, well, if you love someone, do you highlight inadequacies in that person so that they can become better, so they can reform? So you cannot use, or you can, but it's immoral, and it is minimizing, justifying, and shifting the blame of going, well, I won't look at me, so I'm going to blame you for making my son, my partner, my husband look at me in less than a perfect light. That's just not real.
Yes.
That is delusional, and you've got to ask yourself, as we do ourselves, going, why does this person need to come to me, mummy, or me, substitute mummy, and it's now girlfriend, or whatever it is? It's a psychological, this is not bashing, this exists. More people marry their fathers and marry their mothers than anything else. It's psychologically proven. This is not Lighthouse ease. This is not anything. This exists in the public domain, and if you want to find it,
the data is in.
You will.
The scientific data is in.
You'll find it. You will find it. It's there. And you know what? Look, I'm not saying this to try and, as Paul's saying it, I'm not saying it to try to convince anyone, but you know, if you really want to love, in the way that you say you do, please use it.
And learn how.
Yeah, learn what that means. But if you're saying love, then love means, okay, love starts going, I know where I'm imperfect in my ability to love, in my perception of what I can even do. So I've got to be imperfect. You use the word repentance. Well, what am I getting wrong? What am I getting wrong, and what do I need to change in me? It doesn't matter if I'm 5 or 15 or 50 or 100, or I'm a man or I'm a woman, I'm pink or orange or yellow or green. You know, whatever I am, that's not the primary thing. It's not, oh, well, I'm a woman and he's doing it because I'm a woman. No, it's because you're a mother or a partner. You could be in whatever type of relationship with this person. If you are impacting someone who's trying to get healthier, for us, we cannot help someone to get healthier. If we're not saying, what influences do you have in your life? Where did this come from? Psychologists, what do they ask first? what is your worldview? In other words, what religion, have you had any influence on that in your life? And they're saying, what's your relationship like with your parents? And this is not Lighthouse. This is psychologists the world over, PhDs for centuries, they've studied this because that governs your worldview. Here you are, you're suicidal. You've got this challenge. Oh, that must have been schooling. Well, maybe it did impact them at school. But the vast majority of cases, whether it's abuse or whether it's suicide, it originated in the nuclear family. That is tragic. That doesn't help us. That reality, actually stating that, that's not like, wow, so that's amazing for us. We've got something to beat them with. No, it makes our life harder. It makes that person's life harder. It makes everyone's life much harder. We take no, going, yeah, it's us against the families. We cherish family. I mean, it's just, it's, and this is, you know, and look, there'll be people who start to see this, and there'll be those who just, they're so busy, they use all of their will, all of their the power that they have.
They're consumed.
So, consumed, but by trying to defend the story that we have of ourselves. And I am someone who spent my life doing that too. The majority of my life has been, this is my identity. I've got to spend all my life pretending that I'm better than I am, rather than actually going, well, why didn't I just use this energy to get better, rather than defending, you know, wherever I think I'm not. And that's if you look at any human being, that's why I said on a previous one, was yesterday, just going, well, what does it mean to be a wonderful parent? Not, well, I love you. You can't just carry on saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, and that means that makes up for an ability to love. You can't just say it, and that just suddenly, like if I say it enough, it just falls up, because that's my intention. You can say, well, I want to be fit, I want to be fit, I want to be fit, I want to be healthy, I want to be healthy, and you're just eating, that it just doesn't work.
No.
It won't actually help us to get there.
Yeah, so it doesn't make you fit.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get.
It makes you unfit.
Exactly. It was just saying it,
yeah.
and you're thinking
it,
but not actually becoming
it. Yes.
And I think that for me, because it's not about misogyny, and whatever the next allegation is, there'll be another one. Because anyone who is in the public, or anyone who's making an impact at some level, and again, I'll say this, that's not a justification for anything or any mistakes we make. Just for the record, you can put that down. Anyone, it's going to come anyway. Yeah. But anyone who's in the public eye, and when you are highlighting areas of inadequacy in the greatest taboo, which is predominant, is parenting and partnering. If you're challenging the parents or you're challenging the partner, because this person's trying to get healthier, and their partner's imperfect, but their partner doesn't want to look at themselves, but this person does. And that's just every challenge that we've had, whether it's they're still married to mommy, and they actually don't have a partner, and mommy owns them. And it's generally, you look at the studies, it is predominantly mothers who don't want the little bubba to leave the nest. Or you get a situation where they found like another mummy, because most people aren't, the level of infantilization is called old infants. So you can't, your partner then becomes mummy or daddy, you know, and therefore you can't get out of that whole cycle. It's tragic that it's like this. We wish it wasn't. Like we're like the purveyors of doom, you know, because now we're ruining the pseudo idea of the family. But if you had to say anyone, well, why do you know you have a healthy family? Please, you can put that down objectively against some sort of form of psychological evaluation, and they're out for the hills. But anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you. At the end of the day, guys, you know, the type of people that do this sort of stuff, and you know, they're becoming less and less, and the police will be pleased about that, and we're pleased about that. You know, we don't want people to get into trouble. We don't want people to have consequences, lose their jobs. So this world needs people to grow and develop, not be punished and, you know, be held accountable for the rest of their life because they've done something wrong, and it'll always affect every job interview they ever go to, or any job they ever go and look for, or whatever it is. Because once it's in the public domain, it's very, very difficult to get through life when you've done something genuinely wrong and you can't prove that it's wrong because it's right. It's very, very difficult. With all this Daily Mail stuff, it's all provable that is wrong. Even the truth has been misused, and evidence has been tampered with, including recordings. You know, it's bad. It's bad stuff. But at the end, but it can be proven through a court of law. The time is coming, and until that time, we will communicate here. And so we're not going to wait for the court case to happen and we all keep quiet. People who do that, I mean, they put themselves in a worse light. You need to be able to communicate articulately and make a strong case and argument based on truth and reality. And if if indeed you can't be accountable, and this is very important, accountability and taking responsibility. Being able to take accountability and responsibility through genuine feelings of contrition and through genuine repentance, which is not just a religious so-called word, or theistic word, or biblical word, or Christian word. It's a word in the English dictionary that stands on its own outside of anything biblical or anything Christian or anything religious or anything. It's in the secular domain as powerfully as it is in any other. Okay. It's era of secularity. And, the people that do this sort of stuff and what trolls are, and I'm educating the parents here as well in terms of trolls, and the pathology there is what you're getting here. But you can see that there's very little contrition there, very little responsibility taking, very little balance between, it's all horrible stuff because I tend to kill you, I tend to ruin you, I tend to damage you, I tend to get all the significance by being powerful and hitting you. Okay, it's like toxic and it's terrible. But there's very little balance of, but yes, they did this and they did that, but they did this too and they did this wrong. Let me tell you what, if you can't be balanced about a human being, anybody with half a brain can, or even, actually, no, not even half a brain, so that is way, way too much. One whole brain cell, nice, not even polished, an unused brain cell, we've got billions, right? One unused brain cell can look at something new and assess and establish where a person is. Does that make sense? At the end of the day, I'd like to speak about the importance from this point of view. Seeing we're protecting children, and my answer to what are you guys, so what about children? So what's the word they used? Obsessed?
Yeah, sorry.
You're upset. Why are you, what's all this obsession about children? And we're not obsessed about children. It's interesting that you would use that and that phrase and come from that approach with what we're saying here. We are obsessed, if we want to use that word, completely committed to protecting our children, protecting our lives, protecting our businesses, protecting each other. Aren't you? Wouldn't you be totally, is that what you mean by obsessed? Totally, again, a complete wrong use of words. And a manipulative use of words. Unintelligent use of it, because it's so easily unfounded and confounded and, put to rights. It's so easy. And, helping people to understand, including trolls that are listening here, who, if you can turn around, will, I believe, that who can't, won't, to understand that self-parenting, self-leadership, self-love, self-wisdom, looking at the truth and the reality of self, looking at the righteousness, not wrongtuousness. There's no such thing as word wrongtuous, I'm just using it. Righteousness, that's what it means. It's the opposite of, if there was a word, I think there ought to be, wrongtuous, from a wrong-in to a right-in. Science now knows how absolutely imperfect we actually are. We're imperfect, guys. We are so broken. We are destroying this planet. Animals thrive as soon as we have a virus and we all have to go into quarantine, even the healthy ones, or whatever that may be, rightly or wrongly of that. I'm not sure. But I have my sort of opinion on it, but it's not grounded in anything. I'm not going to write about it and hit them. I'm not, read my opinion. I'm not going to do it every day either, because I'm not a psycho. But at the end of the day, the bottom of it all. But the bottom line is, understanding the importance of self-parenting starts with being accountable to self, be accountable, body, heart, mind, spirit, be accountable, and being responsible with self, being accountable for self. And how we are accountable and responsible for self and our transition to have a good relationship with regeneration. A good relationship, because it's no use me sitting here and we're hitting people for these comments and whatever without giving anybody around it actually advice on what needs to be done. At least what and why, not necessarily how, when, where, who, or certainly who, but not what, why, how, and where. But seriously, the bottom line is we need to be in a situation here where We're helping people understand what is behind it, what the problem is behind it, and what it's going to do for their lives. The consequences, natural or otherwise, consequentially, legally, whatever, lawfully, civilly, whatever the situation is, societally, in terms of their jobs, their futures, their health. Looking at the consequences, that you can't pick up one end of the stick and not pick up the other. Okay? This is a principle-centered reality. So we need to help people understand that self-parenting, parenting is a lifetime thing. And our parents, if they haven't given us and cannot give us a high level of parenting because they don't have it in themselves because of their parents, and they haven't taken responsibility for self-parenting themselves, the chances are that if your parents aren't parents self-parenting, the chance of them giving you a high-level upbringing to a point where you're a high-level force, a parent of self, despite your problems, besides your fallibilities. I've seen the parents of people that have been here. They're just broken and full of acid and they're dark and they're broken and they but they're still hateful. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Tragic, yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah. You don't see children coming here that are broken from families, and those parents look strong and powerful and healthy well into their 90s. And there's no way, it's not even into their 50s or 60s. They're broken. They don't have this sort of thing here. Sit forward and talk and be on the camera and be. There's nowhere near. They go anywhere close to this level of leadership, this level of service. None of these parents have that. They're retiring already in 50 years old. They're retiring at 40. I mean, they're tired. They're hateful. It wears them down. We see it in these parents of the people that come here broken. And so they're looking for parents. And we go, no, we're not your parents, but what we will do is we'll help you self-parent. And so we build communities with people, and basically villages. What's the word we used?
Community?
No.
Surrogate.
Surrogate. Surrogate communities, surrogate villages, and almost like surrogate families, not replacement families, surrogate families, so that people can become parented enough that they can self-parent and then start that journey. That gets called a cult. That gets called a cult by the people who are so bitter and so twisted that their children need to get help outside. And as a result of that, they feel hateful and nasty to us. This whole smear campaign, this whole Daily Mail, when it eventually will come out, truth is, you can't hide the truth of it. If it's going to come out. As soon as I bring out something slightly true or real in relation to our problem, they write another article. And they're writing another article now because a little bit of truth came in. But they're fighting it, they're bashing it down, going, go away, don't bring out the truth. Well, now you will bring out the truth. But it's going to eventually go to court, and it's eventually all going to come out. And these families are going to be held badly and horribly and nastily accountable, where actually they could maybe have worked it out together, gone to a therapist, worked it out as a family. Eventually the law will be involved. The law will be involved with these families who have done these terrible things to these children. Do you know what I'm trying to say? In many ways, I can't even say the words, guys. Okay, because even when I haven't slipped out, I've been held accountable. Okay, so they're trying to kill the reality, they're trying to kill the truth. And now, they must be wondering what else I've got. Well, I've got a lot. I said there were 17,000 words to the Daily Mail last time. But they're busy trying to nail us because they're saying repress it. But all they're doing is they're getting their stories out. But I'm telling you what, they're hanging out the poor family. Well, not necessarily poor families, they're very guilty. But certainly, when I say poor families, it's a very expensive result for an article. And I believe that ought to be held accountable. These are vicious families that are now coming after us for the work we've done to try and hide these things. And they're still trying to hide it. But now it's going to go. Now it's going through lawyers, it's going through the courts, it's going through all these things. And eventually it's going to come out. Truth is incontrovertible. Some may deny it, whatever, but malice may deride it. But eventually, there it is. And me going out and printing 1 million copies of my statement doesn't make it true. The Daily Mail going and writing their little article and their statement doesn't make it true or real. What is true is true. And no amount of, you can get away in the short term telling lies. You can get away by telling falsehoods. You can to a degree. It's going to be hard with us because we write out here and we're sharing, we're communicating, we're challenging, and we have the evidence. Unfortunately, and I mean unfortunately, seeing how we're being challenged and being treated here, we cannot take the truth and the reality of what we have and declare it out into the open at this time. But that time will come. And it always comes. And here it's on its way. No matter how many articles I write at the Daily Mail, it's going to come. Yeah. And the ones who will suffer the most are these families and these children that they so-called trying to protect because we're so bad and so nasty because it slipped out in a meeting. And we're so nasty because I swore at somebody because they were breaking somebody down in this place so badly that I eventually got so cross, so angry, I lost it. I literally lost it. To the point that I used to swear quite a lot. I've become better. We're talking about years now, right? Years and years where that happened to go. But the bottom line is I've become a better person through repentance and through contrition and through responsibility taking and by taking responsibility. And I've been able to forgive others. I have a better life for that. I'm gentler because of that. There's a lot of things here. You know, when you realize that, it's a powerful reality, truth. It's the most powerful of all realities. Way more powerful than untruths, the reality of untruths. And as I say, it's incontrovertible. And no matter how much they jump up and down and try and nail us and try and get angry with us and get all hubristic because I'm the muck rack editor and I'm the rack itself of all that the muck is on, and I'll spray the muck around in the press and I'll hang it out to dry, other families out to dry, and I do it in the name of good, in the name of public interest, in the name of protection and all this sort of stuff. The bottom line is this: they're doing it because it's a business and they make money this way, and that's how they deal. They deal in muck. How appropriate.
Sure.
They deal in muck. This is what they deal in. And the people who will suffer eventually are the very people that wanted to avoid getting exposed, and now they will be. It's inevitable. They have to be exposed now. That's the second article coming out. They're going to be exposed. But the Mail will hold me accountable and shut me down and make me a bad person because I'm holding those families accountable. Because they not that I wanted to, but now I have to because they're now attacking me for the work I've done with the person that they hurt. I can't even use the word how they hurt her. Does that make sense? I can't use it. I can't say what it was. Yeah. I've got to speak in riddles. That's how bad this is. Okay? So I'll leave that with you. Thanks for listening. Lots of love. God bless. Have a good day.